Welcome and make yourself comfortable in your window seat looking at the port wing of an A380 on short final just about to land in the next 20 or 25 seconds. Focus your eyes on the mesmeric dance that is those split ailerons moving up and down independently to smoothen out the roll inputs to make the passenger ride as smooth as possible. And there's a vortex streaming over the top surface of the wing as the aeroplane comes into the flare and gets right royally firmly planted, the golden watering can there, into this garden city that is Singapore's Changi airport. We're on runway 20 and that in the distance is the Jewel, a most phenomenal feature, indeed one of the wonders of the world. Look at that for a leak in the ceiling. Gazillions of gallons of water. It's a fantastic place. Back on the wing, those ground spoilers are still up, and in sympathy, deflected upwards are also all those ailerons to help spoil the airflow over the wing. And look, you can see all the way through the wing. Perfectly normal, by the way. No need to get stressed about that. And very soon now, those ground spoilers will go down because they are disarming them as the start of the after landing checklist, talking to ground, and it'll be a short taxi to the gate as these 380s park at the terminal finger there that you can see in the distance, just in front of that air traffic control tower. Never any shortage of action at Changi. As you can see, there are plenty of visitors from other countries, including Taiwan and China. So those flaps are coming in now, and very soon the airplane will be parking up, and before you know it, the passengers will be out and on their way into what is the most phenomenal airport, to me number one in the world. And here's part of the reason why. Look at this for a baggage reclaim area. It's not outside, it's inside, and that's a real living garden. Those aren't plastic plants or palm trees, those are real. And look at the calmness, no bags spilling out onto the floor. So come on now, let's take a dander into this Jewel and see what the SP is and get the full lowdown onto the extent of this indoor waterfall, or rain vortex as it's more professionally referred to. The naysayers around the world said it couldn't be done. Well, the Singaporeans weren't having any of it, and here it is. Look at this, would you? It is simply mesmerizingly unbelievable. It's enormous. There are 120 species of plants in here, 3,000 trees, 60,000 shrubs. Hell, if that was a leak in your roof, you'd be calling the plumber to say what the has been going on here. With 300,000 visitors a day, it's no wonder this is a popular place to come to. At night, it's a sound and light show and can be seen for miles around. It's a combination of nature, a shopping mall, culture, education, recreation. It's the full Monty. It's a bit like a shopping mall where people happen to get flights rather than going to an airport that has a facility. It's quite the thing, and if you ever get to come to Changi Airport, you should go there for sure. Now, I like to look at airplanes as well, so I went off to try and find where the viewing gallery is, and that's what you get onto, one of these virtual terminals. There's a person in the distance who will help you. I found a good place to spy on a few airplanes. Now, there isn't a problem with your screen. That's a mesh that you need to look through the window, so unfortunately it puts a bit of a grey hue on your screen. But not to worry, this is one of Singapore Airlines 777-300 ERs, and it's as clean as a plate you'd want to eat your lunch off, but sitting very high on its main landing gear because it burnt all the fuel off. And one of the many visitors is China Eastern. This is a wee 320 going back up to Shanghai, where they run up and down almost like a shuttle service every day. And look at the state of the airport, would you? It's absolutely litter free. In the background is a 787 of Scoot, and here comes the behemoth of British Airways from London Heathrow, the double-decker 380. In the winter months, this is what they run up and down between Southeast Asia and the UK. Such is the demand for travel. Now, looking back into the terminal again, you would think it was just one big play area, but this terminal alone is bigger than some airports in the world, and there are currently 4 of these. It has real flowers, fish ponds, virtual skies on the ceiling. It has everything, including acoustic carpet, so you don't actually hear very much noise at all. It is incredibly calm, which sounds like a complete contradiction when it comes to air travel these days. And out on the ramp is equally calm. In the distance you see a couple of Scoot's airplanes. There is a Scoot 787, that's the low-cost arm of Singapore Airlines. They borrowed some 777s when they first started from the main line, and then they were eventually replaced by 787s, and then after that, on this occasion, in came an Antonov, and all of those wheels are about to make a Dramona touchdown. And once that taxied clear, this 320 was able to get underway. as you can pause for a second to see how the children were let loose on the side of that Scoot jet with a pencil case, making some interesting Pokemon art on the back end of the fuselage. So we're all ready now to push back, and that drone is the two engines of the 320 starting up, and when that's all complete, they start to taxi out. But stopping a beam in A350, we'll get a good go up at what the engineers are up to. Maybe a bit of routine maintenance, or perhaps indeed a bit of fault finding, but it's in fair weather, so it's not that bad at all. Or maybe even just checking the oils, but it's a 24/7 operation looking after a huge fleet of aircraft. And here come more scooters scooting, and once they're out the way, we'll be able to continue the taxi. That's a 321. So leaving behind that bit of engineering, which all looks very calm, orderly and under control, in the distance you can see one of Singapore Airlines' many engineering facilities where they look after not only their own aeroplanes but those of other airlines. The 320 has now been cleared to enter and line up ready for departure on runway 20. The area controllers have given a release clearance, and so the tower controller will check the surface wind with the pilots and then clear them for takeoff. Pilot flying will move the thrust levers into the flex MCT gate. They'll check the indications are normal for the engine response. And here we go off down the runway. In the distance you can see the cranes of that massive Terminal 5 that remains under construction and will be for a few more years. It'll be ready before the end of the decade. The aircraft, as I say, is accelerating now, coming up through about 80 knots, through 100 knots, and there on the front of the wing is called a slat. It's not a Venetian blind, it's actually something that helps increase the curvature of the wing to provide more lift at lower speeds. And on the back end of the wing, out of your picture on the left, is a trailing edge flap, and that thing on the wing tip in the distance is called a winglet. So we're getting up to the speed now where the pilot flying can raise the nose and the aircraft will get airborne. Bidding goodbye to the runway surface. With a positive rate of climb, the gear will come up and you'll hear the ding of the overhead emergency exit signs extinguishing, and the wheels are now in the belly of the fuselage. In the distance is more of that construction site and another runway that they have at Changi, and then in the far distance are all those ships waiting for their slots to go into Singapore's port, which is one of the busiest in the world. The container port is the busiest. So as they continue the climb, you get a cloud forming there over the wing. That is the effect of the air accelerating over the top of the wing, the pressure reducing it, the air cools, and the water vapor content condenses, making a high-speed cloud. Now reversing back left to head northwest through the overhead of Changi Airport, you get some idea of the scale of what's involved. It's down in the southeastern corner of the island of Singapore, and the footprint is absolutely ginormous. It has that main site, and then off to the east is a further site with that runway beside it. So as we're continuing the climb and looking back in reality to the airport, that is a place that never rests. 24/7 it's going. That jewel, the runways, the airplanes, the passengers, the outlets, the whole shooting match continues on. So that's Changi, and a wonderful place to visit if you ever get a chance.